One of the features of WordPress that has made it so popular and so powerful is the fact that WordPress itself is really just a very small core set of functions. Then when you need to add more functionality to WordPress, you use what are called plugins, and they literally do plug in. The nice thing about them is they also unplug very easily, so that if there's a problem or you want to change them, you simply unplug them. You never touch WordPress itself. All right, let's take a quick overview of how plugins work. Over here, they have their own menu area within WordPress. There's plugins there. By default, WordPress comes with these two plugins, Akismet, which is a anti-spam function for your comments. Hello Dolly is just a fun sample plugin so that people can see how they work. There's a menu here that says you can activate it. You can edit plugins, but that's not recommended. And you can, of course, delete them. Now, let's say we want to activate this plugin. All we have to do is click on this, and now it's activated. And there will be messages if there are specific things you need to do for that plugin. They'll appear up top here. In this particular case, we have to get an API key to activate it. But notice now it says I can deactivate it. I can go and control its settings and all that sort of thing. Notice too that now there's a new item on the menu here, and you'll find this very often with plugins, is they're going to add something to your menu, either a whole new section to your menu or a new area within an existing menu. So plugins literally then become a part of the program, but they're still separate enough that you can unplug them as they were. There's an add new function for plugins which literally takes you to a search engine that goes to the WordPress.org site and looks through the plugin repository there. In this case, I want to find a plugin that will let me run PHP coding in the sidebar or wherever I have widgets. Now, I happen to know this is a very good plugin because I've done some research about it. I've used it before and so forth. But notice there are many PHP related plugins. And they all have a lot of stars on them. Those ratings will tell you a little bit about them. Choosing plugins can be a tricky process. I'll go into that in more detail in specific videos. I'm going to talk about what plugins to use and what to look for specific functionality for your clients. But right now, a quick rule of thumb for you that I tend to use is this. I've either researched it and seen people talk about it, or if I click on details, I'll get some information about the plugin. And here's the one that I tend to look at first. How many times has it been downloaded? Is it widely used? That tells me, yes, there's usually good compatibility, the good functionality, it's trustworthy. How compatible is it? Now, what's interesting is this one's compatible up to 2.8, and we're already at 3.1. That might make me wonder a little bit, but then I would research and see, oh no, it's working fine. It'll even tell you it hasn't been tested with your current version. But if I went and researched this, I would actually discover people are using it with 3.1. It's had good ratings. And again, not just that it's got 4 stars, but it had 111 people rating it, not just 3 people. That's something to look for. Also the author, and you'll get to know over time as you work with different sites for different clients, you'll start to see there are a lot of very common names out there of people who write great plugins. So that again becomes part of it. How long ago was it updated? This one wasn't updated very recently, but it doesn't matter for it because it still works fine. Sometimes though you'll see it's been not supported for the last 5 years or something like that, and it may have some trouble. Anyway, those are some ways you can quickly think about which plugin is the one for you. And of course, functionality. Does it do what you need it to do? I could install it right now, or I could install it from here. Let's just go over to here. I'm actually going to install it from here. Yes, I do want to install. And now it's been installed, but it's not active yet. Let's look at our list of plugins. You can see that it's got a colored background to it that tells us it's not active right now. And I can simply go in and activate it. Now, in this particular case, this plugin just gives us functionality. It doesn't actually have any specific widget or anything that goes with it. Some plugins will produce a widget, some will produce a new area, as I mentioned, on the menu, and add functionality to your site. If I want to deactivate it, just as simple as doing that. And you may have to deactivate it. Let's say you update WordPress and there's some sort of problem with your site. A very good idea is to deactivate the most recent plugin you had, assuming your plugins are up to date, and that's very important to always keep them up to date. In fact, this menu up here, this little menu, will tell you if you have any that need updating. There's also an area in the dashboard here called Updates, and it would tell you whether plugins need updating or not. And under the plugin menu as well, there would be a little indicator saying there are some plugins that need updating. Very important to keep them up to date. So that's an overview of the plugins area. Your client may or may not get involved with this, but depending on their level of skill, you might want to show them how to do this. This is really more for you when you're installing plugins on behalf of your clients. And we're going to go into that in more detail for specific plugins as we go along in the course.